The lines of a poet, meant to last forever, instead dissolve into the shifting feeds of a social network. We exist in a state of constant visibility. Digital footprints, GPS pins, and sequenced genomes ensure that every movement and biological trait is recorded and archived. But this wealth of data offers no protocol for handling a loss that doesn't follow a logical path. When someone vanishes emotionally or physically, our metrics provide no guidance. This creates a friction between our technological tools and our actual experiences. We have built a system to track life, yet we remain unprepared for the moments when life simply stops making sense. This disconnect is illustrated by a two-story house in a dream, where the inhabitants are separated by a rigid floor. On the top floor, a young mother lives with her two small daughters, their lives defined by the routines of a standard family home. Beneath them, on the first floor, lives an elderly landlady who exists in total isolation, separated from the family by only a few feet of wood and plaster. This vertical arrangement places a fragile, modern family directly on top of a solitary existence, creating a structural tension between connection and loneliness. In the dream, the younger daughter leaves the house and is instantly transformed into a sudden gust of wind. When the older daughter goes out to search for her sister, she too undergoes a change, dissolving into a pool of water. This process represents an alchemical transformation, the conversion of a physical, measurable body into a boundless elemental force. Once the girls become wind and water, they represent an inherently unquantifiable loss. They are no longer subjects that can be contained or measured. They haven't just gone missing in a physical sense, they have moved into a mythological realm, shifting from human beings into the environment itself. This suggests that some forms of grief are so absolute that they can only be understood through the lens of ancient, elemental change. The only physical evidence left behind is a few strands of hair caught in the teeth of a wooden comb. The mother, unaware that her daughters have transcended into the wind and the water, treats their disappearance as a problem that science can solve. She attempts to use the DNA from those hairs to track them, believing that a genetic nap will lead her to her children. There is a tragic mismatch here. A DNA sequence is a tool for mapping biology, but it is fundamentally incapable of locating the wind or identifying the water. The mother is trying to use modern metrics to solve a mythological mystery, leaving her stuck in a cycle of scientific futility. While the mother struggles with her data, the perspective of the dream shifts down to the first floor. On the first floor, the landlady watches the tragedy unfold and allows herself a quiet, bitter smile of satisfaction. She isn't mourning. Instead, she is pleased that the young woman above has lost her family and is now just as alone as the landlady has always been. The landlady represents the cold, grounded outcome of the story, the reality of isolation that remains after youthful hope and scientific efforts have failed. The narrative concludes with a total collapse of the systems. Science couldn't find the girls, and the mother couldn't follow them into their elemental escape. The mother's desperate reliance on DNA data mirrors the poet's soul being lost in the social networks. Both genetics and algorithms reduce the complexity of a human life into a set of trackable metrics, but they do nothing to maintain the actual bonds between us. The children have become part of the world, leaving the mother behind in a house where the only thing left to share is the landlady's silence. Data gives us the means to track everything about a person while leaving us entirely unable to find them.